Can you tell us more about this Battle of Thanksgiving? Because I don't think I've. It's been a while since I've read Bing West's book. I don't know if it's covered in that or not, but I don't remember that specifically.
Yeah. Second platoon was on their way outside of PB Transformer and was in heavy contact. And I think Will was bounding between one of those cornfields and because he had some Marines pinned down and he was moving to kind of the point of friction, like the great fighter leader that he was. And as he did that, he was shot in the head. And Sergeant Sotelo at the time then kind of started to take control of the platoon and moving Will's body, as Marines, we never leave a Marine behind. And it was a significant and an emotional event to kind of try to fight through that. And so third platoon, I was way out in the kind of far boundaries of our AO that day. I was in my own firefights that day. I think we found a cache that day, but it was third platoon was the closest platoon to second at that time, and Vic Garcia came in and with third platoon and fought their way to them and helped them move Will. And that's when I said Sergeant McCulloch ended up getting a Silver Star that day. Sotelo got a Silver Star that day, and all day we had just there's probably like over 40, 50. It was like a company minus of Taliban that they fought through that day. And so we had air
That's
station
crazy
and
that there's that
overhead.
many people. That's crazy.
So it ended up being over 12 hours of fighting. And it was a significant. I mean, it has to be one of the bigger battles, and Sangin being the most deadly battle that any battalion was in OEF history. And then that specific battle, the Battle of Thanksgiving, I think was probably the biggest fight that we were in throughout the deployment.
What kind of weapon systems were the enemy employing during that battle?
Yeah, they had Dishkas, PKMs, AKs. They had what are the 30 millimeter kind of grenades. I think that's what they were fighting. So they had those. They had some indirect fire capability, limited indirect fire capability, but RPGs all over the place. And then, the primary weapon that they have is they know when we're near the. Sangin was a minefield, and so I don't know if I've clearly articulated that enough. That we were fighting the entire time in a minefield.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime we were in a pocket of IEDs, they knew that, and they coordinated their ambushes to align with when we were near an IED, so that as soon as we started to kind of move around, we would strike those IEDs, and then they'd continue to fire. Let's say they usually had multiple IEDs kind of in place, and so once we hit a couple IEDs in the area, they would then break contact, right? That was their primary. They just wanted us to hit all those IEDs, and so. But yeah, I think it was a very well coordinated attack the day of the Battle of Thanksgiving, with weapons all the way up to like Dishkas, RPGs, grenades. So
So the IEDs, man, that's what you hear about. And when I went to Sangin, man, I was so worried, because I'd heard your guys' fight and follow on guys that have been there and stuff like that. And all I could think about was stepping on an IED, like, fuck, man, we're going to hit an IED. This IEDs. Luckily, my advisor team never hit one. Our Afghans did. Multiple Afghans got killed by IEDs, but no one on our advisor team did. From my understanding, and you can tell me, like, their tactic that they were using was, like you said, they would wait until you're in an area with IEDs and then attack so that you move into cover, and then those suitable cover positions, they would put in IEDs because they knew that's where you would move to once they initiated the ambush. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was definitely one TTP. They definitely put those IEDs in natural kind of positions of cover. But I would say that doesn't offer enough as to the kind of magnitude of the amount of IEDs that were there. I mean, they just littered the entire battlefield with IEDs. And so you could be walking you could be walking through a field, you can be walking down a trail, you could be coming out of a canal. Lieutenant Robert Kelly was killed by an IED on the kind of at the top part of a canal as he came out of a canal. He hit an IED. So they were really they were in the trees, they were in the doorways, they were scattered throughout the courtyards. It was, when I say minefield, we found hundreds and hundreds of IEDs. And we struck
I
a
had
lot
a
as well. So.
I had a friend that was with 3-5. Well, he wasn't. He was attached to the unit for that deployment, and he was saying as he would get ready to go out on patrol, and he was like, dude, I got to the point where I would just throw up before every patrol. He's like, it would take me a couple minutes, and then I would puke, and then it was like, all right, let's go, because he's like, I was just so scared. He's like, every time I walked outside, I thought I was gonna hit an IED. How do you keep the will to fight up when guys are living in a state of fear like that?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, let me give credit to our combat engineers. We had a squad of engineers attached to Kilo Company, and 12 of the 13 of those engineers were killed or are now amputees.
Oh man, really? Jesus.
So there was no more dangerous job in the entire world than being a combat engineer in Sangin. And walking point out there, swinging a stick, trying to pick up an ID that had a non-metallic signature. Those guys walked point every day. And Lance Corporal Arden Benagua was one of my engineers who was killed in action. Corporal Spivey was wounded. We had Garcia, Yazi. The list goes on for those guys. Just what incredible bravery that those guys, and when your entire squad gets at some point and become, we, like I said, it was kind of all of us started to feel it's not a matter of if but when, but no one felt that weight more than those junior Marines out there swinging a stick. And those guys who walked point will forever have my just utmost respect and admiration. I think that the Spartans had a thing where they did like the fear shedding. So I think you come back to base and after maybe a close call or two, you kind of have the little shudder and but then you kind of just throw in a dip and you say who's got a Chili Mac MRE, but so you don't spend too much time thinking about it. Before going on patrol, I think you can't let that fear become contagious. And I think that's part of the role of the NCOs and the officers is that the Spartans had another term called calypsis or possession, and you can't let people kind of become possessed by that fear. And it's important to acknowledge like you have a vote. The enemy has a vote, but like we have a vote, and so we're going to go do what Marine infantrymen do, and we're going to go locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver. And so that's what we got to get out there and get after. And we understand that there's significant risks associated with that. And you do, as an officer, you do your due diligence where you plan and take every kind of measure that you can to ensure your Marine safety. But ultimately, by asking your Marines to cross the line of departure every day, you are accepting that you're asking your Marines to do something very, very hazardous and dangerous. And so I think you just can't think about it. You can't, if you start to dwell on it, again, I think that's what, I saw some units kind of go a little bit internal, and you can't dwell on the risks out there, and you got to just go out there and attack and get after it. And I don't know. I don't like what you're saying. That's why being titled this book 1 Million Steps. It's because like every step you are thinking, like, as you put that left foot down, you're like, okay, I still have my legs, I'm still alive. Then you put your right foot down and you think, okay, I still have my legs and I'm still alive. And that's like, that's what you like. That's what you're. Unless you were in a fight. When you're in a fight, to me, I never. Once we started to get in a fight or once we had a casualty, I never really worried too much about that. But kind of as you're just walking around, getting out to wherever the objective is. Yeah, I mean, every step you think. Yeah, I'm happy that my legs are here on this step, but I'm not so sure they're going to be here on the next step.